Free advice, free advice. Would you like some free advice? Free advice, free advice forever.
Hey, everybody. It's the podcast.
It's the podcast. The one, the only one that you listen to because there are no other podcasts.
No. Don't forget about Joe Rogan, but this is the other podcast.
It's called Free Advice.
It's called Free Advice. And what do we do on this podcast? Well, you got Morgan Beard over there.
And you got Rob Zaleski over there.
And we take emails, Reddit posts, shit that our friends texted us, people who don't even want to be on this podcast, and we fucking read their shit, put them on blast to the whole world, and then we give them our advice. And that advice doesn't necessarily come from a qualified source or a person who cares about them or has any kind of good wisdom behind it.
There's an undertone of self-righteousness.
There's a lot about me and Morgan trying to virtue signal, make each other laugh. Or
What's virtue signal?
Virtue signaling is like, well, when I was reading Voltaire last week,
to
make you think that I'm a sophisticated, thoughtful person or whatever.
Sort of analogous to humble bragging.
Yeah, it's humble brag would be way. It's like I guess it's like dog whistling of like you're trying to communicate to other people that you have this quality.
Right.
And so you drop little things about yourself. Yeah. People do this a lot, like on first dates when they're insecure, but they know that it's a sin to be insecure. So they're like, well, when I was at my yoga class, and that stands in for spirituality, presence of mind, and fitness, and so they like talk extra about yoga or whatever.
Yeah, I've never done that.
Haven't you?
Kidding.
I mean, there's some value in that, but let me finish that statement.
Someone's doing it.
The only thing about the advice is that it's
free.
Free.
The way that you know someone's doing that on purpose, they give a little extra pause after they say it because they're waiting to see your reaction. Like, so when I was in yoga,
and they look,
and they kind of like look to see,
Morgan just
what's
turned
the
her
cue?
head slightly and raised her eyebrows a little bit, like, okay, what are you gonna do?
What do you think about that?
Are you gonna frown? What's your micro expression?
Yeah, what's the micro expression?
Oh, you're probably one of those Trump supporters who doesn't do yoga, right? Right? Yeah, I knew it. Let's just end it. We don't even need to order food.
Are you implying that all Trump supporters are not flexible or balanced?
I would say it is a characteristic that more represents them than the opposition.
Yes.
It's conservative mentality is
don't stretch,
defined by sticking to the way that things are, and that is means like one, not adopting Eastern philosophies that are newfangled and potentially scientifically unfounded or whatever. Two, not physically putting your body through difficult new things and accepting. It's a lack of openness to the other, the germ, the foreign, the unknown. So they do less yoga.
Yeah. Okay.
Plenty of them do yoga.
Solved.
And those are the good ones.
You can find them wearing Lululemon.
The bad ones are the ones that play football.
Here's the ones that are good. Here's ones that are bad. Yeah. No arguments.
Can you repeat that without the shake, and I'll edit that out?
Here's the ones that are good. Here's the ones that are bad. No arguments.
Great. Okay. So I think we've covered that pretty much.
Everybody knows what category they're in. Good, bad, nothing in between. Perfect.
Good. Do you have any advice you'd like to ask me for this week?
I'm good for this week. I've got all my shit taken care of. Psych. But no, I don't think I need anything particularly from you this week. Okay. But is there anything that you'd like to ask me?
Yes. I had an idea of growing out my hair.
Ooh.
Partly just to, I think it's important for a person to continually redefine themselves and not get stagnant with one identity.
Totally.
Like explore and then exploit from that perspective. You know, once you're sure of that focus or that set of priorities that you have, and then do something new. And I feel like I'm entering a new phase, and so that's why I've grown out my facial hair.
I was going to say, you've been warming up by growing out your facial hair.
Exactly. And especially after seeing Joaquin Phoenix play Arthur Fleck in Joker, I was like, I like that look. I basically want to be that character. I mean, what an admirable guy. I don't know. I might.
How long is the hair?
The hair is for him, just short of shoulder length, I'd say.
Okay.
Like, to halfway down the neck.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of brush back.
Yeah,
Not
I have
slicked,
I have a resume of encouraging people to grow out their hair, so I could definitely help with that.
Okay. You and my dad should start a consulting agency on what would make me really movie star handsome.
Yeah, excellent.
No,
I've been looking to collaborate with your dad on a project.
I knew it. Well, yeah, so you had an undercut is why I'm asking you. This might be a strange thing for listeners to hear a man asking a woman. I've had a skin fade for a while. It's been like 30 days since my last haircut.
Yeah,
And I'm just taking it a day at a time. No,
Yeah.
I know that there's an awkward phase in going from short to long. How long does it last? What can I do to minimize it? When should I schedule that to happen? Do I get trims along the way, or do I just do nothing to it? These are the questions that I have for you.
Okay, so some of those things I have answers to, and some of them don't, because I've.
Uh-oh. Is this even worth doing then? Fuck.
Okay, so yeah, the idea of preparing for when you want to do it is an interesting one because, yes, there is sort of an awkward phase, but it doesn't have to be that awkward. And I think people in general are familiar with the concept of like, I'm growing my hair out. So therefore, like, this isn't the look I'm going for. I'm a work in progress and being comfortable with that.
Yeah. So what, I get a nose piercing or something to distract from my hair and then remove it once I have it at the length that I want?
That's an option. That's certainly an option.
I like that
no, but there are
advice.
certain accessories. You could start wearing more hats during that phase.
Fedoras with feathers?
That's not the route I would go.
What kind of hat would you put me in?
I was thinking about a baseball cap.
What kind? With the team on it? I think that misrepresents me because I don't like teams.
Do you own any baseball caps currently?
Yes.
So what's on those?
Well, I've got one that says Adidas and it's white.
Okay.
I use it for tennis.
Okay.
And then I've got one that says Duke Gardens. It's kind of a denim deep blue.
Yeah, I'm thinking something more like that. That's casual. Than like an athletic.
It says Duke Gardens. It's pretty pretentious. Okay. I want to show people that I went to a really primo school. I think when I wear that.
But now you have to get a new hat just because you don't want people to assume that about you. So what does that say about you?
That I care about the impression I'm making on others.
But I do feel you're like kind of aggressively anti-Duke sometimes.
I've seen enough negative reactions from peers.
Sure.
From people my
I get
age.
that.
From older people, they love it and they think it's great and they trust me more. But from people my age, they're often ready to assume that I'm not cool or that I haven't struggled or a number of other things that I think misrepresent me. You know,
We're a bunch of easy living dorks.
well, and like to be fair, there are a lot of people that I know from Duke whom I love, but if I didn't know them, I'd be like, oh, it's another fucking consultant Wall Street guy who had everything handed to him and their parents paid for their school and then they got a cushy job and they don't take control of their own life at all. They just like are on the escalator to making it big time and exploiting others and they've got their blinders on to the suffering around them and the injustice in the world. And I know people who do match that stereotype that like, okay, if people think that about this school or whatever else, sex scandals, lacrosse scandal, the other stuff, was it Paige Owens, something Owens.
Oh, Karen Owens,
Karen
the
Owens.
PowerPoint. Yeah.
That stuff that people associate with the school, the porn star Belle Knox. Actually, I don't mind being associated with the sex stuff as much as I do the like frat bro.
Sure.
I suppose I don't want to be associated with the lacrosse rape scandal, but I think most people know that they were, what's the word? Freed of those charges. They were exonerated.
Yeah.
So anyway,
there's a lot to unpack here.
yeah. I'm not going to wear the Duke hat that often. That's not going to become at least a major part
So
of
then you would need a different hat.
So I need a hat is what you're telling me.
I mean, for a guy, I mean, you could do a headband.
I think
like
a
head
yarmulke
scarf.
is going to throw people off too and say things about me that I don't.
Right, I wouldn't start there. And it
Don't
really
start with a
wouldn't be
yarmulke.
covering up the part that's awkward. So
some type of reverse yarmulke that looks like an inner tube or donut that I can
like a
put around the rims.
sweatband, for example.
Okay, a sweatband.
Like a headband of
I'm
some
thinking
kind.
of Lawrence Nema. Do you know him?
No, I don't.
Okay, well then it's a moot point.
Okay.
My only person who wears a headband seems very like they're going for an athletic vibe. Uh-huh. And maybe it's a little bit of a gay vibe too. Is my
Oh, a gay athlete vibe.
Yeah, like
Okay.
jocks for cocks type look. If you know that one. If you ever took that college class.
So, okay, what's interesting about both of these your resistance to both of these accessories is like a fear of being stereotyped in a certain way that you don't want.
Okay, you're saying that like that's not how everyone picks clothing all the time.
Sure. No, well, actually, I feel like I pick clothing more for like how do I want to look, not avoiding how I don't want to look.
Oh, okay. Well,
and it's
those
also
look like two sides of the same coin to me.
Well, to me, I'm not picking clothes based on how I think others will react. I'm basing my choices on what do I feel good on, what fits my personal aesthetic, what do I like. I'm not worried about, okay, what are the preconceptions that someone else is going to have because my t-shirt says Duke on it. But I am someone who doesn't really wear a lot of Duke stuff, so.
Yeah.
But it's not for that reason. I don't like graphic stuff.
Clothing is, I'm not into fashion, really.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about people who are very into that. Just as it,
You're worried about
I am.
them.
When I
It's
find
okay. You
that
don't
out
have to
about
take care of
somebody,
us. We're
when
fine.
somebody says like that's their favorite thing, I'm like, really? Are you a narcissist? Like, are you?
Okay, so
that
you're
concerned?
worried about other people judging you because you're very judgmental about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I judge other people, but I think that it's smart.
I mean, I don't
to
think
be
that other people
judgmental.
don't, but yeah.
Other people judge me. I judge other people.
Yeah. We're biologically wired to do that.
And we're in a place where there are millions of people, and you have to make split decisions about who you're going to spend your attention on.
Fair.
And so,
Fair.
like, I'm just recognizing that reality. And, like, I don't, like, today, I didn't think at all about what I wore over here because I have a rapport with you. But if I was going to a place where I'm meeting new people, I'm going to be a bit more conscious about how I present myself.
Yeah.
And what I expect them to maybe glean about my values from the way that I present myself. And that includes hair, facial hair, styling, clothing, posture.
Based on this discussion, I don't really think you should grow out your hair.
Why? You don't think it's a good look?
It's not that, but it is the hyper attentiveness to fear of being judged, and there will be a long awkward phase of growing out your hair.
That is not me.
Okay.
I have been that in my life, and now I compared to the people that I'm around at bars and places that I work, I see how much more other people are hyper afraid of being judged. Of course, I care about how people judge me, but I'm at this moment in my life very secure that I have enough love and social support and acceptance and community
to wear a Duke Gardens hat.
Yeah, I would do it. It's fine. It's just it's like not my top choice.
I get it.
When hats are cheap and I have other hats, why am I going to go out socializing with people with a thing on me that makes me feel a little insecure about coming off as pretentious or comes off as pretentious? Either thing is like, why choose that thing then when I can wear no hat? You know?
Yeah. I don't remember really what you looked like with longer hair because you used to have longer hair.
I did, yes.
So I'm trying to think about like what is my advice for you based on how I felt about that. But yeah, I don't have an updated enough version of you with that hair to make a judgment.
I was not as cut then either. So something will be a contrast to like messy hair that's long and the current body that I possess.
I think that you should try it because why not try it? And then if at some point in the growth phase you are like, I can't tolerate how this looks, you can always cut it again. That's the luxury that boys have over girls is they can just cut it all off.
Girls can do that.
Yes, but there's much more of a social consequence to that. Or like here's an example.
Yeah.
I was very frustrated with a hair-based decision that I made.
The hair decision?
A hair-based decision.
Okay. Tell me, what is it?
And I was when I got highlights that I didn't like. And I was so frustrated. I was like, I might just shave all my hair off. I'm so fucking frustrated. And the person I was dating at the time was like, I don't know if I'd be attracted to you if you had
no hair.
No hair. And I don't think that same standard applies for the average
a smaller number
female to male
of
dynamic.
Women would say that to their male partners than male partners to their female partners.
Yeah. But so anyway, other advice about like actually the growth process. So there are different ways that you can stimulate hair growth. You can give yourself little, finger pulsing kind of scalp massages to bring blood to the area. You can take vitamins.
Will make me hair grow more?
That will make you hair grow more.
Okay, you know what? If you have to jump down my throat on every little thing, do you want to stop the podcast
playful.
right now?
I just thought it was fun and playful.
Do you want to go outside and duke this out?
Kind of. I mean, does that sound more fun?
block the sun from my eyes.
Well, Duke in the Gardens.
Yeah.
So, those are ways to expedite the growth process through the
Scalp
phases
massages,
and
witch hazel,
prenatal vitamins, basically
Prenatal
like vitamins, supplements. I think things with like vitamin E and stuff. Sure, I don't know.
Great.
This is not my area of expertise, as I'm sure you're gleaning from how I'm approaching
You're
it.
telling me good stuff.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, cranial accessories throughout the growth process.
One of those like octopus things with the many arms that you put over your head. It's
A
got
head
those metal-
scratcher?
Yeah, but with the
Just
many.
permanently, wearing it permanently.
Nah,
Oh, you can wear a
dog.
beanie.
Nah.
You can wear a beanie.
That's gonna be hot,
Oh, okay.
right? Plus, with all the hair coming in and a beanie, you want me to be sweating out my balls?
Well, no, not specifically, but I'm just saying, like, stylistically, that's a kind of hat I could see you wearing.
A beanie? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Be like a real thin one.
Thin one.
Maybe
Yeah.
a real breathable beanie.
Yeah. You want to wear a do-rag?
No.
Appropriate some cultures?
No.
Okay.
For that reason.
Yeah.
I'm already doing enough black stuff
Yeah.
that it's questionable
It's
to
a
a lot of
dangerous
people
line. It's a thin line. Yeah. No, I get it.
I don't think I should wear a do-rag. I own
get it.
one.
Oh.
So you remember
What's that
I'll tell you. I hosted a Flying Lotus concert viewing event where people met up at my apartment, and then we walked to the Hollywood Bowl and saw Flying Lotus together.
Yeah. I was there. I remember.
Yeah. As part of the festivities, I thought, and kind of as a way for us to
that's
all stick
right.
together, I got everybody hats at the dollar
right.
store. There were $1 chapeaus, as they were
What
called.
is a chapeau?
A chapeau is, I believe, a French word for a hat. I may not be pronouncing it right, but that's what the tags say. They were like, chapeau. So we all put on our chapeaus.
that.
I think you didn't.
I didn't. I don't like hats.
Ooh. Do you feel like you're in a good space to handle criticism that's unsolicited right
Sure.
now? Do you really? Check in.
We're changing the title of our podcast to Unsolicited Criticism.
Criticism of Rob and Morgan from each other. Okay.
I can handle this.
I don't think I've ever brought this up, but this interaction bothered me with you.
I know you were
I have
really
brought it
fighting
up.
me. No, but I know you were really challenging me on why I didn't wear hats.
Yeah. And the real underlying thing of that was I had planned a whole evening's activities, and most everybody was there on
Hats
time.
were part of the camaraderie. Oh, and I was late.
I'll explain.
Okay, sorry.
Please let me tell the story. I served dinner. We were having the type of deep personal conversation that I was hoping to facilitate. And you came in and you were very apologetic and started talking about how you couldn't get your hair to do the right thing. And other people were in the middle. I don't want to say who it was, but somebody was in the middle of a very personal story. And you came in and started discussing your own issues with your hair.
Yeah.
And the contrast to everyone else in the
selfish
room, I
bitch.
believe, was like, are we going to talk about her hair right now when this person's talking about their parents or their family?
Got it.
And I remembered thinking to myself, I wish when people entered a room where an activity has already started, that they would feel the energy of the room and watch first and not make the room about whatever they're coming in with, especially if they're late. And so then I think you not wearing a hat and continuing to focus on your hair was like, all right, she has her own intentions for this evening, and she's not really along for the ride. She just wants to do what she wants to do. Okay. I'm annoyed by this because of how disruptive I found it when that person was sharing.
Yeah.
And you entered.
Yeah. So are we able to tease apart the frustration with how I entered the room and took up that amount of space, like with the thing about my hair from me not wearing the hat, or are they completely like connected?
They're different, and I don't think I cared that much about the hat. I thought that it was like everybody else is doing this. Are you that worried about the way that you look? I was judging you for being so attached to like looking cool that night, and I was like, all right, that's not the headspace that I'm in, or I think anybody else is in here. Like nobody's judging you on how hot you're going to look or how fly you're going to be at this concert. And I kind of like saw a what I perceive as maybe toxic femininity, or like the annoying part of femininity is like, and what I don't normally see about you.
Yeah.
And that's why it's more disappointing to me, is like I was perceiving
Disappointing.
Yeah, I was disappointed in, because I expect Morgan to be so like valuable in ways beyond her looks, that for me to perceive you being so invested in the way that you looked to other people at an event where I think it's about paying attention. My value is just about paying attention to what's happening on stage and just experiencing it. for you to be caught up in how you were going to appear to others rubbed me the wrong way and made me just sad and surprised. It was disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want it to seem like I'm not receiving it by not like responding to all the different elements of it, but I also don't think that that's like needed. So how would you, let me ask you this. How would you in this moment like me to meet what you just shared with me? What would be the most?
Thanks for telling me that.
Okay. Thanks for telling me that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because my initial response is like, okay, like, let me like go back to what headspace was I in and try to defend like the way that I behaved and
I'm sure
and
you
I
had
don't think
reasons
that's
for all that.
yeah, but I don't think that's like
I don't think
necessary
you're
to
crazy
do
or
now. But it is interesting to notice the like, oh, okay, like we were, I was just kind of like ribbing you for being so particular about the way that you looked, and then you're like, okay, well, here's this story about a time when you were particular, and I'm just kind of like, oh, yep, that's right. I do that too.
Okay. Did that feel like a counterattack or
No, not at all. No, certainly not. But
I think it's normal for everybody to do that and have moments where they care more
totally.
about how they look and less about how they look, depending on their certainty of already being accepted by the people that they're around. And so if you're in a new situation where you have a higher need to quickly convey a certain attitude or a certain credibility to the people that you're meeting, then like you're going to check the mirror a little bit more and be a little bit more conscious about which shirt you wear. And that's normal. That's okay. That's not like a bad type of vanity, I think.
no, I mean, well, I presume again that like some of the type of vanity that I was bringing into this scenario was related to like less about how do I look to you guys and how do I fit into this group or how do I want to look at this concert to these strangers, and more about like trying very hard to align my appearance very precisely with this version of myself that I was like trying to be, and probably past the point of another like ideal that I have of like just being present and being there. And I know that when I exhibit that type of vanity, like it frustrates me too, because then it's like, it makes me feel like, oh, well then it's not worth trying this hard like at all.
Yes.
Because it then supersedes like other values that I have about, being able to, not be so self-involved or appearance-based, superficial, all these things. But I do think that I don't know to what extent I would argue with your assessment of this as like being part of toxic femininity or a point of where femininity has a tendency to tip over into toxic, because I also think that women in a positive way, and of course a negative way, women are really looked to and, sometimes appreciated for their appearance. And I think that is something that is true to all different types of animals. And I think that it's something that adds beauty to the world, and it being sort of an artistic expression. But now I'm noticing like, I'm defending my, my right to be superficial the same way like you were defending your right to be superficial earlier. I'm just like going in this like hamster wheel that I'm like, I don't even want to be in here.
I got you. I think we're zeroing in on an important truth.
Yeah.
I still think that it is a part of toxic femininity when it is overly applied, when it's overly fixated on. If somebody is interrupting a funeral by taking a selfie with the caskets that they can post that on their Instagram, to me, that is a type of toxic, let's just say attention seeking.
Sure. I don't know if it's necessarily
it may not be
feminine.
femininity, but if we quickly defined toxic femininity, I've got an over emphasis on searching for love and looking for love and
trying to
and
attract
attention. Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm just, I haven't really thought that out, so it could be
Yeah,
wrong,
no,
but-
neither have I. We're just kind of brainstorming here.
And toxic masculinity is like an overfixation on doing and making your will become real, regardless of
and
other
owning
people's.
the feminine.
and
like
owning,
attempting to capture the feminine, and then the feminine reverse is attempting to attract the masculine.
Okay. And that's a way of owning it, is like by being in control of being
maybe.
so hot. Okay. In that case, then, your argument that, what did you say? Fuck.
I don't know.
Toxic femininity is something, that type of attention is something that our culture supports. I think what I heard, and it may not have been what you said, what I heard was that women are celebrated for being beautiful, and it's something that we like that women look good. I don't think that means that it's any less toxic. I think we live in a
I don't think
culture
it's just, and I don't think it's just
toxic.
women. I think it's, again, like feminine versus women is like,
Sure. We do it for men
taking
too,
a care, taking a care to consider your appearance in a way that attempts to attract something to you, I guess, or communicate something.
I think we could agree that one of the major philosophical problems of our culture is an overemphasis on the way that things appear instead of the way that things feel.
Sure.
To the individual.
Sure.
Putting on a happy face, wearing lots of makeup, having a clean house instead of having honest relationships, and having
but those things don't always mean that they preclude the other.
Yes, you can be beautiful and self-examined and honest and open, and
I do think, like, Burning Man, for example, is a great time where people care a lot about, how are they presenting themselves, and they put a lot of artistry and creativity into themselves as like an artistic product. Not to the exclusion, like in an attempt to inspire other people and connect.
Yes.
Not
sometimes. There are totally people there who are there to look hot and cool and collect more Instagram followers and like dominate through.
Gotta catch them all.
There's plenty of egos there as well, but,
of course,
but you do see
like
a lot.
Anywhere.
Yes, you see a lot more of people offering a gift of, look at the sensory experience that I'm providing to the people around me, and then not demanding attention, but just attracting it because they've done something so cool and decorating themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have a complicated, as I'm sure everyone does, relationship with beauty and self-decoration and like self-attention, because I think that was something that was kind of like thrust on me before I had a natural inclination to it. So I have like a dual sense of like, it's so important and also resisting it. And it's a very complicated cocktail of, how I choose to show up in the world based on that kind of like, well, I hate myself for doing this, but I feel compelled to do this. And like my value is in my beauty and it's tough. Not. And Right. It has to not be in my beauty. I have to go out and be specifically downplay it to not appear like this. And
it's total catch-22.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a woman. I don't know, but it seems like it to me.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. A catch-22 is the perfect phrase.
Thank you. I always kind of assumed that I completely understood a woman's experience, and let's not be too. I don't want to undersell myself. Also, gay people's experience, black people's experience. What else do I get?
We are Africa.
Yeah, I think I pretty much get what it means to be Chinese in today's Chinese culture. I get it. I know what that's about. I haven't lived it directly, but like I've read.
But like I'm a white man, so I get it.
Yeah, I get it, guys.
Yeah.
It's just like
and I'm a white woman, so I get it too, and can speak for all other women.
As a white straight male, I have so much privilege, and I'm choosing to use it to read thought pieces that translate into the English that I understand other people's experiences. And if that doesn't make me superior
and then you filter
to you,
it through your
I
white
don't know
lens.
what does. I really don't know what does.
Just in case you weren't picking up what we're putting down, this has all been facetious.
Maybe what Morgan said is, but she can speak for herself.
Okay, well, I speak for myself. Then when I say that, welcome to our podcast where we're really facetious and we observe honestly that we are white people with privilege and that we can't speak to everyone's perspective.
Okay, well, that's Morgan's perspective. And
Okay.
I can't.
That's true. I don't want to put that on you.
Yeah, I can't recall ever saying something that wasn't 100% sincere in this moment. So, take it for what it is. Next up, let's do the lightning round.
It's going to have to be lightning.
Well, we
right?
got like a half hour.
Yeah,
yo.
that's true.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Number 1, comebacks for prank callers at adult store. This is from milkdud. The last D is repeated 5 times.
Okay, milkduddddd.
Milkduddddd. I work in an adult store. The job itself is amazing, but every day I get at least one prank call. I just want some really witty comebacks, as people usually call with a group of friends. I feel like embarrassing them is the best course of action to make them realize they're being immature and stupid. Keep in mind, most of these callers are in their teens and think sex is funny.
Okay, I love this question.
Thank you. Have you seen The Simpsons? You know Moe's, why you little? Bart Simpson would come in and be like, hey, is Seymour there? Seymour Butts? Hey, anybody see more butts? Seymour, can I see more butts?
Yeah,
They all laugh at him, and then Bart goes, ha ha. He's, if I ever find you, kid.
Great. That's a great example of contemporary pop culture of prank
like
phone
30
calls.
years ago.
Very contemporary.
Way older than me.
So I would really love to know, what kind of, how do they initiate these pranks? Because I almost feel like in order for it to be really clever and witty, you would have to kind of like in the moment weave something in that's related to what they say. But so all we know kind of consistently is that they are teenagers that are uncomfortable with sex, right?
Yes. Well, maybe. We know that they think sex is funny, and let me come out and say I think sex is funny.
Yeah.
And probably you have too at some point, Milk Dud. It's funny. There's a lot of pain involved in sex. There's a lot of ways that things don't go the way that you want it to. There's a lot of not getting exactly what you want. And there's something funny to be found in that pain. And when you think about how important we make it, and then the weird actual physical parts of our body that, like, if you put them under a microscope and be like, oh yeah, this thing that I'm fixated on for hours every day and I've been thinking about it for years or whatever it is, that's pretty funny when then you actually are in person. You're like, oh, it's this like strange tube or this strange noodle that gets all slimy and smells funny. Oh no.
I know, right?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Good. Really nailed the timing of that. So,
It's kind of like when I was in that yoga class at the end of the yoga class. I was at
okay.
I do yoga.
I think I can handle this pretty quickly.
Please.
For Milk Dud. If you want them to stop calling, don't give them what they want, which is for you to get upset and fashion all these witty comebacks. That's the gratification that they're looking for. It's like, oh yeah, dude, remember when that guy got so pissed when we fucking called in and asked for the biggest dildo that they had? He was like, you kids, I'll put the dildo right up your ass or whatever you think is going to be funny in this situation. The kids are going to love that. So this is like, how do you deal with bullies 101? You don't give them the gratification they're seeking. You don't let them get under your skin, and you just go about your business. In this case, it's probably just hanging up the phone as soon as you recognize that that's the nature of this call. Now, as a more general life advice that you're not asking for, I think that this pain, like all pain, is some type of a signpost pointing you towards a potential for growth where you could find joy in people doing things like this, as long as it's not too often and interrupting a busy workday. Here are kids playing and getting to know sex and impressing each other, and it doesn't have to be something that's a threat to your self-esteem or your place in the world. It can just be kids being kids and laughing at sex, and like, don't we all have that inside of us somewhere?
I do want to add something on to that, which is that I volunteer on a suicide crisis line, and we also get a lot of like prank and harassment based calls. And it is frustrating. So I want to validate that. It's a waste of everyone's time, and it just feels like, come on, dude, this is not what this is here for. I mean, obviously it's slightly different to be taking up the line on a suicide crisis line than at an adult store.
I think it's very different.
But I just want to validate that, like, I understand that frustration of like, because you are being immature and testing out this, as you were saying, like testing out your sense of like, ooh, what is sex? We're doing prank calls and we're just like being goofy and, kind of being cowardly, having this like cowardly approach to this topic that they could be investigating in a more serious way. I have to like waste my time with this. And yeah, there is that sense of like, I'm diminished. My significance is diminished by people not taking this thing that I do seriously.
Yeah.
And so I don't have any kind of like answer or anything other than just to say like, it doesn't have to be just like, oh, laugh it off. It's a bunch of kids. Cause it sucks. It's annoying.
I'm going to go even further in the opposite
sure,
direction
please.
and say that I think the best response is, let's say that these kids are calling in like, hey, how much is it for your biggest, blackest dildo? I need one with a suction cup so I can put it on the windshield and get fucked by my car. Hang up or whatever.
Yeah.
When they say that, offer for them to come down to the store if your
Yes.
store permits kids at whatever age they are.
Yeah.
Look at the
I would
law and all
love to
that.
show you those
And-
dildos personally.
And no, don't be creepy about it. Don't do the thing Morgan's suggesting. Do an actual presentation of what it is and why people might like it. Because the kids are curious
Sex ed.
and they're uncomfortable with it. And like, if you can laugh with them, because it is funny, a lot of this stuff, and show them, why a person uses a dildo, what a douchebag is for, whatever they're getting at, masturbation sleeve, sex swing, like if it's legal and I don't know, parental consent or how that plays into this, but like invite the kids to do more research and learn and try a sample product or buy these things. And like, they're curious, invite them into the fold in a healthy way, and they're going to learn better from a person who cares about them and meets them in person than where they're getting their information otherwise, which is going to be online pornography, which is going to be sensationalized and extremist almost all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know to what extent I would recommend like giving them any kind of more attention, even if it's like serious and coming from the right place, because they're just not going to be mature enough to handle it if they're doing this. But I respect the attempt to connect with them earnestly over something that they're clearly uncomfortable with
And interested in. And
yeah.
This is not your responsibility to do, but I think it's akin to instead of arresting the kid that you find doing graffiti on the gym brick wall, signing him up for the art class in your school instead. That's like, I think the best thing to do with a kid who is expressing himself in that way and exploring that type of thing is like support the thing that they're drawn to instead of demonizing it or punishing them for doing it.
Sure.
Just like try and help redirect them to a more creative or constructive form of that pursuit that they've chosen.
Are there any, I would also wonder, like, are there any products in the store that have, like, that say something, like have an automated recording as a part of them that's kind of like sexy and spicy or whatever? So then you don't have to even talk to them. You just play that thing and know that you don't even have to get involved, maybe. It's a completely different option.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I understand the frustration of even putting any of your kind of like effort or energy into like talking to these kids.
But these kids are probably, I don't know where you live, but if it's someplace where the kids are going to live into their adulthood, these are potential future customers if they have a positive experience with you. And I don't know your attachment to the store, but like you have an opportunity to get mad at somebody or push them away or make them think that you're uncool, unfunny, and sex is, for me and other people, about relating to people and getting closer with them. And this is an opportunity to get closer with these people and teach them how to enjoy themselves and each other a little better. And what a cool job that is that you have the opportunity to do that. So try and, if you can, and you aren't so overworked by other shit, see this as that opportunity.
Yeah.
Great.
Or point them in the direction of where they can get free condoms.
Yes, at least that. Please help with the problem of unwanted babies and lack of access to abortion. Next lightning round.
Great.
Sirmattimous says, my dad keeps watching the 24/7 news about Trump. He is not a supporter, but it is equally annoying hearing it all day long. I asked why he enjoys watching it so much, and he said because he wants to see Trump go to jail. It's making me go crazy. What should I do? Is this normal?
Unfortunately, a lot of adults are hooked into the 24-hour news cycle.
Especially
thing.
the parents of adults.
Especially the parents of adults?
Of grown children.
Oh.
I've had this conversation with many of my friends about how their parents have become politically radicalized and focus more and more on the news after they left the house. And I don't think that's a coincidence.
Me too.
And I have a theory.
Interesting. Would you like to share your theory?
I would. Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
interested.
I am interested.
It's
I think this will help.
that parents feel a great duty and feeling like protectors, and they get a lot of self-worth out of providing that type of guardianship to their kids while their kids are living with them, and then after their kids leave, and sometimes in the case of divorce after kids leave or separations, that person feels less needed.
Yes.
And that's a very difficult set of emotions that come with that. I imagine I haven't lived through this myself, but it's hard to face those things. And often when we have internal challenging emotions or local challenging emotions, it is much easier to feel those things for something that we are relatively distant from, such as nationwide politics, something that isn't so close to home. Mm-hmm. So we fixate all of our attention and energy on what's happening in D.C. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of parents, I think this also leans conservative and towards Trump support. For your parent, it seems like they're fixated on Trump and wanting him to go to jail. But either thing is kind of the same thing of picking a villain, and your personal beliefs will decide whether that villain is the anonymous Mexican criminal, bad hombre, as Trump calls it, or Trump himself, or Nancy Pelosi. Or, there's various scapegoats on either side. But if you're picking a team and you're fixating on something that you hate, and you're spending all of your energy thinking about that, that will grow inside of you. And you're fostering hate. Even though I think my personal view is that Trump is the one who fosters the most hate, there are totally Democrats and liberals who have this philosophy too. And I would try to answer your questions. One, yes, it's normal. A lot of people are going through this, and it's normal to be upset by it and concerned. I think my goal and other people's goals should be in these situations to try to focus on the feelings of their parent and listen to their parent about what's happening more locally for them, and create a safe space where you're not judging them or interrupting them or telling them that's not how things happened or that's not how you should feel about this. Mm-hmm. But I think probably buried beneath a lot of obsession and news is a discomfort and a disconnection, feeling of loneliness and worthlessness. And I think that Donald Trump in particular has tapped into that for middle-class white people who feel left behind by a world of aristocrats and elite technocrats and people on the coasts who scoff at them. And I think the best thing that we can do for those people is listen to their more local pain about what's it feel like to be in an empty nest now, or what's it feel like to be in a world where your old job is no longer needed, or you're not getting paid to do that anymore.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I don't know if I would go right to like, what's your pain point? Because I don't think that person who is like, sort of wanting to be in that angry, fear-based space is like ready to hear that or have that kind of sensitive conversation.
I agree. What's a better way to transition then? Or how do you do that more? That's a good
question. Sorry, I was like steering towards another thought. So let me think about this.
Okay.
I would, I think listening and then finding the cues of like, where are areas where I can pry into more and ask open-ended questions about, like, what do you think, Trump would do for you? You kind of start the line of questioning with, you're coming from the same team.
Yes.
And then when you see openings to shifting perspective, you allow them to arrive at it on their own by continuing to be curious about, like, what is the value of this for you? Or what, why does this make you mad? Why, I don't know. I mean, it's tough because I'm kind of politically averse because all this stuff is like too intense and people's emotions about it are just like, I get very overwhelmed with the anger and then also the sort of despair of like, this is the direction our country is going, to be so polarized. But the other thing I was going to say about empty nesters in general, Erik Erikson has the like stages of development.
Yeah.
And it goes through children, but it doesn't stop there. It goes to adults too. And the one of the last conflicts of each stage. So each stage is basically characterized by either a positive learning outcome or a negative outcome. And
Can you
for
give an
older
example?
adults, so older adults, it is generativity versus stagnation. And what that basically means is they're grappling with this idea of, am I leaving something behind that's worthwhile? Am I leaving a legacy? Or am I just existing until I die, basically? And so I think there is that issue of parents who are no longer in a direct caretaking role, but still want to feel that they are steering the world towards a better future.
Yeah.
And this is a way to do it, to get quote unquote involved, whether it's you just sit there and scream at your TV and watch in horror, or you are actually like doing some kind of advocacy or having real discussions with people about your views or their views. So examining the problem from that perspective of, like you said earlier, Rob, if this question if milkdud, right, is going to address the parent's problem, or was
sirmattimous.
I'm sorry, milkdud was the other person.
Yeah.
Milkdud was the adult
sex
store.
worker.
Yeah.
It's
So
the prostitute.
yeah, having a conversation with him about why this is so important without the defensiveness of, because I don't want you to watch it, because it's garbage, because this, that, and the other. Anything that directs the attention to you and him having a conversation live and away from, well, what is Trump doing? And away from the externalization of the problem and towards, okay, how can your dad feel more like he's contributing to you and your future and his future live?
Yeah. May I suggest some
Please.
potential questions that you can ask? So Sir Matty says that I asked why he enjoys watching it so much. And he said because he wants to see Trump go to jail. I'm curious about what your tone was when you asked why he enjoys watching it so much.
Right.
Because if it was an accusatory tone or one that was intended to change his mind or make him see the error in his ways, he might have been resistant and defensive in his explanation.
Yeah.
If you ask that question from a genuine place of curiosity or from like a really trying to understand his point of view and not change it, then I think that you're going to get build more rapport and get a better response from him.
The other thing I would ask is like, ask him, how does it make him feel to be, kind of like bombarded with this news stuff all the time? Like when you are watching the TV, how do you feel?
Yeah,
and the answer
use
is
the
like,
word bombarded
sure,
for him.
because
If your
again, it's
dad
a
says
negative.
then you're
right.
judging it in the question.
Right. So trying to have your questions be neutral and not betray your ulterior motives as much as possible. But maybe
Best
getting him
thing
to
is
see a pattern.
Actually lay down your ulterior motives so that you're not betraying them anymore.
Because it's like you're feeling like the energy that is created by having the TV on this subject all the time is one of just like outrage and being riled up in this negative energy, and no one wants to feel that all the time, I don't think.
Some people do, because it's better than the alternative of the sadness that there is a value in grievance in the way that it can cover grief for some people when they're not ready to address that grief.
Yes.
And maybe the dad is in that place. I think it's also good advice for Sir Matty Mouse to come into touch with, how does it make you feel? You said it's making you go crazy. What should you do? I think you should keep track or a journal or write a letter of how it feels internally and own these feelings, not accuse him of making you feel these things, but say like, I feel sad or I feel lonely when I'm in the house with you. Maybe there's a time constraint of, you only have so much time left with your dad, and this is how you're choosing to spend that time, or he's choosing to spend that time, that maybe you feel disconnected from him or like an afterthought, or like he's not available to you because he's so fixated on this story. And if you come to him with that and he cares about you and you own that and you don't do it in an accusatory way, that will probably touch him and affect him in a way that he will consider things from your point of view in the way that he might not have been able to before. So I'd recommend getting in touch with your own feelings and having that available to you, maybe for after trying to understand what he likes about this so much. And then if you want to follow that line of inquiry, he says he wants to go see Trump go to jail. Ask him how that would feel. What would that be like if Trump was going to jail?
Yeah.
See the excitement with him. If you'd share that excitement, you can relate to him over that.
Yeah.
And then would that feel like a victory for some other struggle in your life? Was there anybody else that you ever wanted to see get punished, who treated you poorly or who represented a bad thing to you?
And was in a position of power.
Yeah. Maybe it's their own parent. Maybe it's a boss. Maybe it's somebody that Donald Trump is like, they're particularly invested in this Donald Trump story because probably it's a pattern in their life of people, your dad's perception, I'm guessing now, people getting things that they don't deserve, who aren't good people. And this is an opportunity to finally get that feeling of justice, that revenge, that, oh, isn't that going to be sweet to see Trump carried out in handcuffs is what he's thinking.
Yeah. I think the other thing to kind of gently challenge is that he enjoys it because eventually he wants to see Trump go to jail. Well, if Trump were going to go to jail, he wouldn't have to watch the news all the time to see that happening. He could wait until that happens and then watch that moment of
that
victory.
revolution will be televised.
Right. So,
I can guarantee it.
Yes.
And Trump will brag about the ratings from behind bars.
So
It
exactly.
was the biggest impeachment anybody's ever seen. People were watching in China,
Yeah. So
in France. Stay tuned next season when I take it up the ass in the show.
yeah. And so right. And so wanting that outcome and wanting to be present and see that outcome happen is very different from torturing yourself with the lead up to that outcome for days on end. So noticing that, I would kind of gently inquire with your dad of like, yeah, like just like Rob said, I want to see that too. But you know, maybe there's a more peaceful way we could spend our time up until that happens, so that we can really be rested up and energized and ready to receive it. No, just kidding. But
I want to give one last piece of advice in what may just be the real deal question and get converted from the lightning round to just how we end this episode. It's looking more and more like that as we check the clock. Yeah, you're welcome, Sir Mattimous. And that is, I think that you should use this to write a sketch for your sketch writing class where Obama and Trump are cellmates and they've both gone to jail, and do kind of like a buddy comedy odd couple thing where they have to coexist in prison and all their old baggage comes up. You know, the lines of conflict in this is going to be strong. So Obama probably like frames his birth certificate and puts it on the wall and dusts it off. He's like, looks nice, doesn't it? And then Trump's like, oh, you little. And then Trump tries to have like a conjugal visit with Melania and he can't get it up. And Obama teases him about it. And he's like, you know, what they say is true about once you go black, well, you have a tough time going back. All of these things. It's going to be so fun for you. So just please write that sketch. Ask your class for notes. Make sure you send a sealed envelope with a printed script in it to yourself, or just an email is enough for copyright protection, because I believe the script is going to be so good that your teacher is going to want to steal it.
wow, fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What could we call it? From the big house, from the White House to the big house.
I don't even know if I can let myself go down the rabbit hole of
imagining this buddy comedy. Dude, it's a sick idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Mostly because I like don't even have enough information or investment to really give this a solid swing.
Okay. That's fine.
So we'll just stare at each other across the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. How do you want to wrap this up?
I think by just tucking our viewers in, telling them to say their prayers, make sure they don't send any swear words up to God as they're typing their message and sending it up towards the clouds. And keep on sending us your advice, questions, any dilemma. No dilemma is too small, too weird, too normal. It's all good. Please write us at freeadvicepodcast@gmail.com.
Where did we land on your hair? Are you going to grow it out?
Until I get really insecure one day and
Okay.
I have something that I want to look really pretty for, and then I'm
Yeah.
going to cut it and I'm going to regret it, and I'm going to come to you and I'm like, oh, I made so much progress and I didn't get through with it. I should have just worn the hat like you said. And I'm going to cry. You're going to hug me and you're going to pat me on the back and you're going to say, there, and then you're going to give me some milk and then we're going to be good.
Yeah. From mine own tits.
I'm not going to be picky about where you give me the milk from, but if it happens to come from thine own tits, then yeah, why not?
Okay, cool. As long as we both have the solid expectations around that.
And year 2 of Free Advice Podcast is going to be like one of those Got Milk ads where we both have one of your tits in our mouths. You're going to have to.
That's going to be hard. They're really small.
You're going to have to, either cut off your head or cut off your tit. Whatever seems better for you.
Either
and then
one.
Put it in your mouth.
They both sound terrible.
Yeah. Okay, we can get somebody else to be your body double or something. So you can suck on a tit. I'm sucking on a tit. We both got milk mustaches, and it says, got free advice.
I love it.
Thanks.
I can't wait.
Cool. All right, guys. We'll be back next week. We're not going to have to wait a whole year to see you guys with that ad campaign, but just please write us reminders to do that at freeadvicepodcast@gmail.com.
Don't let us forget about our brilliant advertising ideas.
Yeah. Even if it wouldn't fly in China, that's okay. We're not an international. Well, we are somewhat international. We've gotten downloads in Slovenia, gotten downloads in New Zealand a lot. Thank you, you Kiwis down there listening to us.
Yeah.
Lithuania's on the deck. We got Germany, France, Spain, the UK, Canada, and Mexico, of course. There's some people downloading it in Antigua. I mean, it's all over. So, free advice
Worldwide.
taking over. Look out. Other popular advice podcasts that are for pay, because this is a revolution.
And it will be televised.
And it will be televised, like Trump's arrest, and then eventual, Obama decides to rob a liquor store or something just so he can go to jail, and he requests to be in there, and Obama gives him the tough love and compassion. He fucking proves it that you can heal even Donald Trump by just giving him the attention that he needs, that even that 70-year-old man can come around to know the power of love. Wow, what a fucking show. Please write that script, Sirmattimous. You know what? I might just take that script. It's a race now.
I mean, it is your
Me
idea.
and Sirmattimous, I know. Now we're in a race to the finish. Who's going to write this thing and who's going to do it better? I guess
guys
we'll let
could
the
collab.
Academy decide.
Yeah, the Academy.
Come award
That's what they
season,
dedicate themselves to.
Come award season, whichever
Yeah.
of us sweeps the Emmys or Oscars more.
Yeah. The Academy is Oscars, so this would be television, right?
That's also an Academy, right?
I don't know.
I don't know the Emmy organization. Shows you how seriously I take my craft. Good night, everybody.
Bye.